But take a look at this story. Let's actually...
We're live, people.
Yeah, it happens. The DNC had to disable the chat room after trolls crash Warren appearance at Native American Caucus meeting. There is so much wrong with this headline. Elizabeth Warren was put on the Native American Caucus for the DNC.
There is a DNA test.
Yeah, she did it.
She released the DNA test. And the number was, she was half?
1/1024th.
Okay, there you go. And it just doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
I can't believe they did this. So I highlight this not because we need to rehash everything they did. They had to disable the chat room, but the DNC has been digital. And that, I think, they've made so many mistakes. They didn't realize everyone was going to come and rag on them, was going to give them thumbs down and relentlessly attack them. And somehow they are, like you were saying, they're bumbling around like morons slipping on banana peels.
Yeah.
They put Elizabeth Warren on the Native American Caucus panel. What?
That's such a slap in the face. They've already complained about this. The Native American community has already said, this is ridiculous. We have tons of thoroughly vetted actual Native Americans. This is a mockery. And for them to just ignore that and carry on, it's like, wow, you guys really care about minorities.
Yeah.
So this brings us back to the diabolical or just dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. They're intentionally forgetful, at least.
Diabolical or dumb?
That's
like a whole sequence. That's a whole segment.
This one's got to be dumb, right?
This one's got to be dumb.
No, but listen.
No, it's got to be diabolical because they all have seen the freaking test.
And it was a meme. Like, listen, I when I was recording this, I on my main channel over at youtube.com/Timcast, my main segment was on the failures of the DNC because the night before last was insanely bad with that weird, you see that dancing thing the guy did? What are they doing?
Awful.
It's just like freshman high school talent show production. Just really bad. It looked like those old YouTube videos. Then last night they put Elizabeth Warren in the Native American Caucus, and I'm thinking to myself, how could this be an accident? How could this be an accident? Right?
It's not an accident. The funny thing is they're basically like just boomerang all over this thing. They're like, hey, we're gonna have a chat. We're gonna have a chat room.
Right.
That's not gonna go well. And I think I saw Matt Taibbi, a former Rolling Stone guy. I think he called it. I tweeted it out. He called it a neocon telethon.
Yeah.
Which is basically what it felt like. And I only took a peek in a couple of times, because you got to see what's going on. But it is as bad as you think it would be. Then it's actually worse. And I think this actually gives the Republicans a little leg up. What not to do.
Right.
It's pretty obvious what not to do. Don't do this. It's terrible. And all the polls are closing now. They're all tightening up.
Right.
As they keep coming out.
Yeah.
Trump's trailing Biden by about 1 point in a bunch of battleground states, according to CNN.
Yeah.
And that's margin of error territory.
Yeah. CNN showed like a 10-point closure or 9-point closure over the last month.
Wow.
Yeah. CNN did.
Because when Biden shows his face, it's bad news. Mm-hmm. And
I think Harris has something to do with that as well.
Oh, man. What a disaster. So, particularly I wanted to highlight this for one, because the DNC is just an insane disaster. I have to question whether it's on purpose or not, like they're trying to lose.
I think so.
But I do think it's a good way to dive back into, for people who might not be familiar with you, you wrote the book on leaving the Democratic Party. The OG, like you're the first person to explore this leaving the Democratic Party, writing a book about it, asking people why they did it.
Yeah.
So when I look at this stuff, I have to ask, is it kind of like this is, contributing factor?
The bumbling boomerism is something that I can laugh at right now. But, honestly, the reasons for leaving the Democrats just run so much deeper. They run so much deeper. And I wrote the book in the aftermath of 2016. So it's almost 4 years old now, right? And everything, every trend, every concept that we identified in there, from intersectionality to the network warfare to the social media lack of cohesion, to political correctness, which is really like a version of mind control. All these things that I outlined in depth there have just continued to worsen and it continued to come on display. I wrote that book sort of thinking it was niche back then, even though 9 million people voted for Obama and then for Trump. But the attention on it was niche. But now all the issues, they are the issues. at this point. Anti-globalism, bring home the troops, let's focus on onshoring manufacturing back to the United States. China is actually a threat. Oh my God. Like they're trying to steal from us and eat our lunch and poison us all at the same time. And just also a real big focus in the book on college campus culture, Title IX, intersectionality. And I came up this way. I went all through Pennsylvania, interviewed people in south sort of central Pennsylvania and up in the Lehigh Valley as well, and did a national survey. So it's like filled with actual data, actual research, actual interviews, plus a lot of personal stories in there too. And I don't see anything having changed from then. All the factors that led to 9 million people ditching the Democrats and voting for Trump, those trends have only worsened. I don't know very many people who made the switch who are like, I'm fed up with Trump, forget about it, I'm going back to the Democrats now. I don't think that that's a real phenomenon. But as we have seen, the Democrats are continuing to lose what people might call the center.
Yeah.
When you're losing guys like the Weinsteins and you're losing, the Rubin was a little bit late on the game. When some of our most favorite formerly progressive journalist YouTube stars also are leaving the left, it is a trend that I think it's the thinking man's decision. There's a real component to the Trump network that is very intellectual, very well thought out, well considered, forward thinking, attached to the grand conversations of our lifetime and of humankind, really, and looking to extend those in our American experiment. And we see what's happening to the Democrats, the 2020 Democrats, as being, contrary 100% to the American project. And we have to fight against that.
It is literally 2016 over again. The same projections are coming out.
It's the same.
Same strategy.
It's the same. The only thing that's different is that Biden is a worse candidate than Clinton.
And Kamala Harris is
even less likable.
Is even less likable.
Seriously.
Right?
Well.
And Trump has been president for 4 years and is the incumbent. So like if everything is the same except for those elements, I don't see how Trump loses. And man, if the popular polls are tightening this early,
right
at this point of the election, where I think I saw Cernovich mention that they must know it's coming in a bad way if they're starting to reflect reality this early in the season.
Donald Trump bought the most expensive ad space in digital. You heard the story.
Yeah, the YouTube
homepage banner. This is multi-billion views per month. And the New York Times said he was able to do it because the Democrats didn't buy their ad space during their own convention. I can't believe that. During their own convention, where they're publishing on YouTube, they didn't buy their own ad space. I was reading the story, and I was like, if Donald Trump buys this during their convention, how is that possible? They must not have bought. And I read it, and like, there it is. They must know they're going to lose. So like I was saying earlier, you got Biden and Harris. You're at home. Your friend hits you up and says, "Yo, we're going out." You're in a rush. Your socks are dirty, so you just grab two random out of the drawer. One's old ratty and one's like a weird, sock. You don't care because you're not trying to impress anybody at Dairy Queen. So that's what it feels like.
It does. It feels like when I would go out of the house with flip flops and socks on.
Yes, exactly what it's like.
You're like, when I get all dressed up for work.
I sure you do.
When I'm walking down the street to like drop something in the mailbox. It's flip-flops, it's shorts. I'm wearing I slept in this dirty shirt. It's stretched out and sweaty, and I don't care. That's what it feels like.
That is what it feels like. And I saw a report, I'm not exactly 100% sure if it's accurate, but it was in the mainstream media, that Obama, despite amassing enormous amounts of post-presidential wealth, has not donated a single penny to the Biden campaign. And if I remember, his endorsement of him was tepid, and it was, I think, only after it was clear that he was going to become the winner. Yeah. Obama has a mansion in the toniest part of Washington, D.C. that is literally walking distance to the White House, okay? Wow. He didn't get out of town. He stayed there. He's worth gazillions of dollars, and he's relatively a young man. Yeah. You don't think he's sitting around there trying to, you don't think he's pushing all this. I think that he, over everybody, may know how incompetent and bumbling Joe Biden really is.
The report came out from Politico and several other outlets that he said Joe doesn't have it.
He doesn't.
And my favorite was, don't underestimate Joe's ability to F things up. Ooh, spicy.
So rude.
At the DNC, they actually played one of these like it was a cringy B tier, dollar store knockoff walk away of former Trump voters now voting Democrat.
Yeah.
And it just felt plastic and fake.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't, because every time, I talk to, I have a lot of friends who are still just not paying attention, and they're definitely, voting for Joe Biden. But I have some friends who, man, I was on Facebook earlier, and these two guys that I know from back in my hometown were arguing, and one dude was just giving these really dumb meme talking points about Orange Man bad, and the other dude, who's just a family guy, was saying all these things about China and about intersectional, and I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah. I was like, wow, to see like dudes from my hometown being, I guess you call it red pilled, whatever. They know what's going on. They're paying attention. They've been politically activated, arguing with these other guys who are just dead set on being in the tribe of the Democrats. So
that's it. It's the tribes now.
So here's what I'm thinking with your book. You found 9 million people. Or, I'm sorry, there were 9 million people. You found many of you. You talked to them. You wrote this book about it. I have to imagine the number is going to be bigger this time around, right?
It has to be. It has to.
You have to write a follow-up.
I am going to write a follow-up. The thing is I don't know how it's going to end yet. So
right.
So like it's prepared. In fact, I've got like 10 books that I could write, really. But there will be a follow-up to this, of course, seeing how things shake out. But I just I've not heard one credible argument from somebody who did vote for Obama and then for Trump who thinks that was a bad decision. And I want to return. Biden is, just as Hillary was, literally Obama Part 3. Mm-hmm. And they're not hiding it. It's not even a secret. So we have the same choice again. And even this time, even more so, when they bring people like Kasich and Colin Powell and other Republicans to the DNC, it only just shows that the Democratic Party is actually the part of the uniparty, which is actually who part of the GOP establishment is as well. And so if you want an alternative from the uniparty, there's only one person to choose.
I posted a meme a few years ago, and it's the stock image of a guy and a girl, and the guy's got his arm around the girl, but then his other hand is behind. It's like she's got his arm around him, and his hand is going behind the couch and holding the hand of another woman.
Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah,
right. So the meme is like the Democrats say all these really nice things to you, and really, the uniparty, it's the establishment.
Yeah.
This is why I think it's weird that so many of the progressives have joined in the rock throwing with the Democratic establishment, because the never Trumper Republicans establishment ran, tails between their legs to the Democratic establishment saying, help, we've been kicked out of our house. Mm-hmm. And then the progressives hating Trump said, we'll throw rocks with you. And my thing's like, if Trump wins another 4 years and actually succeeds in crushing the establishment, then the progressives have a clean shot at 2024.
I think that's what they're thinking anyway.
So are they going to vote for Trump too?
Well, staying home, sort of the same thing. If they were dyed in the wool and had ordinarily voted Democrat, this theory, sort of raises the question: who do they have on the bench that would have been the person? If they were serious, let's say, who would have been the person that they would have run this year? And now I've said all along, you don't want to lose to Donald Trump. That will ruin your credibility, right? So I think the Democrats, it sounds like they might be throwing it. There's a number of reasons why you would feel like it. But that theory also then includes like, okay, well, who is their secret weapon? And I don't know who
Michelle Obama.
I mean, that's my first thought. It seems to make sense. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're conspiracy analysts.
Yes, I like that.
I just read that somewhere. That's not my quote. And so, in order to round that theory out, I would try to figure out who that person is in the background. Maybe we don't know who it is just yet, but I can't think that this is this Biden, I'm going to keep calling her Kamala Harris ticket is like their best shot at a winning coalition.
I think it's their worst shot.
Yeah.
I think it really feels like they sat down in a room and said, we don't even want to waste Buttigieg. Right. He's a small town mayor, but he's got more than Biden does.
Right.
So if we're planning to lose, what's the bottom of the barrel that we don't care?
Well, I mean, Harris dropped out of who knows why she dropped out? Maybe she dropped out of the primary because she knew she was going to be the Veep all that time ago. But also, she was performing very poorly.
Right.
So they just added like the worst performer to the ticket. So what sense is
based
that?
Based on her identity.
Yeah. which isn't even the one that they said they were going to
That's
pick,
not
right?
what they said, yeah.
Yeah.
So my first thought when they picked Kamala was like, it's over. It's done. This is great. This is the perfect person they could have chosen to make sure that Trump gets elected again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was their plan, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, maybe 2024 is where it's at, and they're just resigned. And I don't even know if they're thinking that far ahead, though, because in my experience, people tend to not think that far ahead.
Diabolical or dumb?
Exactly. That's all the question.
You should write another book.
Dumb
Yeah.
or diabolical?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's and you could do that now, and then you could write Democrat to Deplorable, part 2.
Part 2. It's coming. It's a phenomenon. So the Democrat to Deplorable book isn't just stories about people. I mean, it is a philosophical and moral justification for why voting for Donald Trump was essential. Okay. It's about defending reality, basically. It's about defending Western civilization, basically. It's about defending the Enlightenment and rational thinking and natural rights of man that span all epochs of history. They're universal rights that are part of the grand ongoing human conversations that are being completely thrown to the side and destroyed by the Democrats. So there's real reasons to do that. And so these are structural forces at work, tectonic plates. They're not going to stop. They're not going to turn on a dime. It's going to keep going and grinding. And we're just waiting for that earthquake, really.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump wasn't even just that. He was a weapon that was launched by the sort of insurgent network. But the earthquake hasn't happened yet because we're all still sort of moving in this same tense lockstep thing, feeding off each other with no clear winner and no clear new direction.
You know what I'm finding fascinating right now? We had this in 2018. You had the squad, the rise of the squad. So you've got Ilhan Omar, Anna Presley, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Rashida Tlaib. Most of the progressives did poorly in the Democratic primaries. Or in their actual, in their primaries. I think it was out of 78, 7 actually won. And they got endless press coverage. AOC, the new celebrity. She was the one. She got 8.3 million followers. But right now, we're seeing a ton of Republican primaries with new kind of populist pro-Trump candidates winning. A lot of Republicans retiring. So Byron Donalds, for instance, if you're familiar, so I think he's in Florida's 19th.
Okay.
He's a pro-Trump black conservative. Someone tried pulling this illegal stunt where they sent out fake text. Did you see this?
No. Oh, I heard about it, but I don't know the details. Yeah.
Fake text messages got sent out saying he dropped out of the race on the day of the election, and that's a dirty trick. He ended up winning his primary, but it's an R+13 district, which means he's in a pro-Trump member of Congress. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.